You are listening to From There to Here, a Star Trek Enterprise podcast. Hello, my name is Josh, and sitting with me is...
Justin.
Our episode for today is Season 1, Episode 7, The Andorian Incident. And thanks to Wikipedia, here's a synopsis. Captain Archer and Commander Tucker, after finding the Vulcan star maps incomplete, talk Sub-Commander T'Pol into taking a trip to P'Jem, a Vulcan monastery. When they arrive there, they find the monastery has unwelcome guests, the Andorians.
Also from Wikipedia, this is Season 1, Episode 7, directed by Roxanne Dawson, that is B'Elanna Torres herself. Teleplay by Fred Decker of Monster Squad fame. Original air date October 31st, 2001, with a notable guest appearance by Jeffrey Combs as Commander Shran. And a little bit of trivia, like I said, this was directed by Roxanne Dawson. This would prove to be her first directorial effort on Enterprise, and her first of 10 directed episodes, no less.
Well, coming off of... I can't even remember the episode. It was so bad.
Terra Nova.
Terra Nova. Oh, okay. Flashback. Coming off that episode, this is a welcome change.
This was Citizen Kane compared to that.
Yes, this was a good one. I did like this one a lot. I know it comes back later.
Mm-hmm, it does.
I don't remember when exactly or how, but
it's called Shadows of P'Jem.
Shadows of P'Jem. I remember that title. I knew what the plot twist was going in, but it was well done. I really liked it. What did you think?
You know, I gotta say, I didn't enjoy it as much as I remembered.
I think it loses a bit of its power
when you know the outcome.
Yes, when you know what the twist
maybe
is
that was the problem. Maybe I was just a little sluggish sitting down to watch the episode. Maybe I watched it at the wrong time of day, but I did find it a little on the slow side.
It was
not bad by any stretch, but I think you hit the nail on the head. When you know where it's going, it's all of it's anticlimactic. The reveal at the end was nice. The way they dealt with it as characters was well done and everything.
Well, in case you don't remember how this does end, we'll spoil it for you.
Sure.
As the synopsis told, well, the synopsis from Wikipedia told you, it's a monastery, at least so they think, but it's actually not. And the Andorians, that's why the Andorians are there. They suspect the Vulcans are spying on them, and they're looking for something to prove that.
Yeah, they're looking for proof.
And at the end, underneath, in their catacombs, they come across what looks to be a hidden underground base of some kind.
Yeah, it's a spy base.
So it is. The Andorians were right.
They were.
And I like that at the end, that this sets up the relationship that will be this kind of antagonistic friendship / rivalry between Shran and Archer.
Yeah, they develop an interesting dynamic between them.
This isn't the first time that they
butt
heads.
I mean, even to the last episode,
he's
the first still calling him.
That's what I meant.
Pink skin.
Yes, pink skin.
But they do have an interesting dynamic, and I was actually glad to see that develop over many years, many seasons, and it was an earned relationship. And they did come to trust each other. They didn't necessarily always trust each other's governments or things like that, but they came to trust each other as men and as commanders. And I liked that. And of course, two really good actors are able to do that and pull that off.
Yeah, this was the first we see of Jeffrey Combs. I don't know how many times he pops up as Shran. It feels like a lot.
Yeah, I wish I could say. I mean, a good handful of times.
Yeah,
throughout the whole series.
I don't think I'm the only person that says Jeffrey Combs is awesome. No. He's great in Deep Space Nine. He's great in this. I mean,
he's so good they cast him as multiple characters and hope you wouldn't notice.
Yeah, that's right.
He's that good.
Right. And thanks to Shuttlepod's show, in that interview you listened to as well, he wanted to be a part of the series. And he never got that chance.
He wanted to be a series regular.
He wanted to be a series regular. That's right. Not just a guest star. And I guess I can see his point that he makes. You know, he'd been on Deep Space Nine for a while.
Playing all but a regular character.
Yeah. And I kind of wondered, like, well, what would that have been like if he was a regular?
On Enterprise?
On Enterprise.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if they didn't change the show and they just cast him as one of these characters, who would he have been?
I don't know.
The only person I could have seen him as would be Malcolm, maybe. And honestly,
it's difficult to see him as a human because we're so used to seeing him play an alien.
You know what? You're right.
Could they have made Could they have just made Shran more of the regular cast?
I don't know. Maybe. Maybe Jeffrey Combs, and I mean this in the absolute best of ways.
Uh-oh.
No.
Okay.
Maybe he is best not a regular because he's just so good that you don't want to have dessert every episode, and it kind of takes away from it. Maybe he's one of those guys that is he's always the supporting character in some fashion. And
is he like a John Delancey type?
Not even that. I mean, Delancey did far less appearances on TNG and even Voyager than
he only played Q.
Yeah. I mean, Combs was in how much of Deep Space Nine, especially towards the end? He was in almost every other episode.
That's right. Yeah.
I dare say he was a regular character by the final 2 seasons.
Just about.
Pretty much, just like Damar. I mean, you don't always see gosh, I'm trying to think of one of the major characters. I mean, sometimes you'll have an episode where one of the major ones, he's just kind of got a flyby. He's in one scene just to remind you he's in the series. I mean, but Weyoun was such a crucial element to that story. So that's interesting that he would say that. And don't get me wrong, I would not want to see him. But maybe this is best. I mean, he's awesome as Shran. If anything, just like you said, bring Shran on more. All the time, at some point.
In this episode, was it the first time that they flirted with the idea of T'Pol and Archer having some kind of romantic connection?
Well, that's why when you and I were watching, I went, "Uh-oh, there it is."
That's what I thought you said.
When he lifted because it was cold, it was getting to be nighttime, so he.
Well, they're being held hostage,
yeah,
and they're in a room together with the other Vulcans, and Malcolm is not Malcolm. Trip is there,
right?
And they're cold, and he offers to share his blanket, right?
Yeah.
But she said, "Oh, I didn't take my." What did she say?
My nasal numbing agent.
Yeah, because humans smell bad to Vulcans, apparently, which I don't think I'd heard before this series.
No, I hadn't either, and that's cool. That's funny. It's probably something they all do. As a matter of fact, later we just don't think about it or aren't told about it.
Okay.
Or they get used to it. But let me go back for a second. So, do you agree? Although it was a good episode, you did feel it was perhaps just a little bit on the slower side?
Yes, but only because of what we agreed upon, that it loses some of its effectiveness.
Okay, because I was really waiting.
We knew where it was going.
Yeah, I was really waiting to start this thinking, oh man, I'm going to be like totally contrary to whatever you're saying, because although it's a good episode, I was not fully engaged, and I guess that's probably why, as opposed to a couple of the other ones we've come across where we were like, hey, genuinely enjoyed that, that sort of a thing.
I think it was probably a real rousing moment for people watching back in 2001 or whatever year this was, when the show opens and the Andorians bust through the door. It's like, right. Oh, it's the Andorians. Right. Okay, we're going to see.
Sure. Yeah. That's just like the end. That's kind of a reveal. Of course, you would know from the teaser that they would have played the week before.
Oh, I guess,
but it's still a big deal. I mean, the
Andorians have not been a big deal since the original series.
No, and
they have not been showcased
and when they
at
bust
all
through the door, it's front and center. Those antenna,
yeah,
and it's and even Archer kind of stares at them a little cross-eyed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not like that wasn't good. Yeah, I just think it's spoiled by knowing the reveal, unfortunately. And I do think the actor that played. I want to actually both of them. There's the 2 primary Vulcans that are part of the monastery, the older statesman, and then the younger guy. And the younger guy looked like a good Vulcan, like just his face. The other guy looked like a human in Vulcan makeup. You know what I mean? And neither one of them, I think, played Vulcan very well, especially the older one, the white guy. He didn't have it. The other guy, if he just reined it in a little more, he probably would have been okay. But even then, towards the end, I just felt like this guy's not Vulcan. He's not selling me. And you really gotta feel that, especially knowing that in this series, Vulcans are almost completely antagonistic to humans. So these guys really needed to play it a certain way, and they didn't. That kind of let me down.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree, although I didn't want to criticize the actors on this one. I felt they did a serviceable job.
Serviceable but weak.
I don't think they had the Vulcan persona nailed down exactly right.
No.
But could that not be the case because, well, they were being deceptive, right? So they were not exactly on their at their best, so to speak. So they were addled. You know?
I get what you're saying, and perhaps under different circumstances, or if the show didn't go a certain way, the series, I might be inclined to agree with you, but especially as the series progresses and Archer has to deal more and more with Vulcans in power and things like that, and Vulcans that are being deceptive and this and that, and you see the difference between how it's done really well and like this, where it's just kind of ho-hum. But other times they do it very, very effectively, where Vulcans are Vulcans. They're tight-lipped, they're arrogant, they're this, they're that, and these guys just absolutely didn't have it. The younger guy was clearly supposed to be a young Vulcan.
Young for a Vulcan.
Young for a Vulcan.
Yeah.
But do you remember the TNG episode Sarek? Remember the young Vulcan there that was holding him?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That guy was a fantastic Vulcan.
Yeah, I see.
He was great.
Yeah.
And somehow they were able to make him feel like a young Vulcan, like he's Vulcan. But he, especially compared to Sarek, who exudes wisdom and experience while still being very Vulcan, this guy felt like he knew what he was doing. He didn't really apologize for what he was doing. Not really. But there was for lack of a better word, and this is not the right word, there was a naivete to him. But he was Vulcan. This guy, the younger guy, like I said, he had that Vulcan-y, exotic kind of look to him, but just wasn't there. And that did, I think, at the end of the day, rob the episode of what probably could have been a lot of its charm or tension, because you have Shran, who is at the drop of a hat suspicious and antagonistic and all of those things. I think to make his character pop out even more, and all the other ones, the other Andorians, these Vulcans needed to be Vulcan. You know what I mean? They needed to piss you off on sight, and sometimes Vulcans can do that. You see in other episodes, other series, how people get so frustrated with Vulcans, because they're so logical and they don't lie. They just say, I already answered you, whatever. And, like Denise Crosby's character, Vulcans, I hate the logic. I hate the arrogance, they're so frustrating. And I think you needed two actors in these two roles to really help bring that out with both Shran and Archer, for that matter, because Archer's getting irritated too. He's like, come on, guys, give him this. They needed that. And I think that does kind of hurt the episode a little bit.
In retrospect, I think you're making a good point. In my memory, I was imagining the episode, what if they were a bit more like Vulcans that we know?
Right.
And they also were able to showcase maybe some of the Vulcan strength that we know they have.
Right. Yeah.
Like I would have liked to, at first they do fight back, and you could see them tossing Andorians, but the Andorians have weapons, they don't. So they do ultimately lose. But that would have been nice. And I know don't we get to see that later on, where the Vulcans, their strength, I mean, this is like in season 4 probably, but
I want to say there is an episode where they run into a group of Vulcans that are experimenting with emotions. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure something gets physical at some point, because nothing they do is like what normal Vulcans do. And you're right. Vulcans are physically very strong.
Yeah, it's 3 times the strength of a human.
And they're faster too.
Yes. Well, they flirt with that.
Reference.
Yeah, they flirt with that, but they don't explain it, which I kind of like. In Star Trek V, remember when Cybok just picks up Kirk like a rag doll?
And he picks him up one-handed by the neck.
Well, is
Yeah.
it in the shuttle bay? That's the same
Yeah,
scene?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's flailing him around.
But they don't explain it.
No, they don't,
No.
because Trek fans know.
We know that. A normal person would think, why is he so strong?
And, of course, to reference that famous TOS episode where Kirk has to get Spock back from Leela Kalomi because he's...
Amok time?
Yeah, no. Where he was
that's
hit by the
T'Pring.
spores
Okay.
and he was in love.
Yes.
And all that. And Kirk had to piss him off. That's how he could break the...
Paradise Syndrome?
No, that's the amoeba in space, I think.
Okay.
But he's doing a captain's log, and he's saying, I have to do something really dangerous now. I have to piss off Spock and get into a fight with him. And he said, aroused, a Vulcan's great physical strength is very dangerous and powerful.
Right.
And Spock just wipes the floor with him, basically, until he realizes, I almost killed my captain. And he has to stop. But they are very strong. And you're right. That's what I mean. That's another element that they could have worked into this, that even though these are monks, and arguably, we don't even know if these guys, the Vulcans that we see, are actual monks that are just fully aware of the operation going on downstairs, or if they're part of it. We don't really know. But
It would have been interesting if they actually made that clear, and
It would have been.
if they were revealed at the end to be masquerading as monks, but they're actually like their version of a Vulcan CIA or something like that.
Yeah, either one
Or
would have been
Section
interesting.
31.
Yeah, but a definite answer one way or the other would have been interesting. Had they been straight up monks, it almost might have been more interesting, because they are not violent and not this. So they would be very passive and let the Andorians kind of walk all over them. They just won't give up their brethren, but they don't tell you, and Archer lays out that Vulcan guy with one punch. Come on, at the end.
Oh, that's right. He does.
Yeah, that I was like, come on. That actually took me out of the scene. Like, you can't, not a Vulcan. And if you're going to do that, go, I thought you guys were made of sterner stuff. That guy went down like he had a chin made of glass or something. But I thought for sure they were going to have a line reference to that, because Vulcans are strong.
And
And
that was a bit too easy.
Yeah, Archer just cold cocks him and knocks him out. It is a good overall episode. Hurt by, like you said, the knowledge of how it ends, but then these little things that we're mentioning that on rewatchability do kind of raise the old eyebrow.
Well, if we go back to, let's say, 2001, and we're watching this for the first time, and I would imagine that we did
like it,
and would find it very compelling. The Vulcans being revealed to be these very duplicitous characters. Right. The antagonists become almost not exactly allies, but they're the ones we sympathize with at the end, not the Vulcans.
Right.
That's interesting for Star Trek. They're turning things completely.
It is.
On
And
its
I went
head.
into this. I was looking forward to this episode because I remembered it being a certain thing, and then in rewatch, it's just one of those things that just isn't super rewatchable because of the structure of it and how it works. When you know the ending, or you know who's hiding behind that wall, that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean that effect isn't lost on a lot of other things as well. Movies have that. Some movies have that problem.
Absolutely,
you can't rewatch them because they just the twist. The twist. Once you know the twist in The Sixth Sense, it's not the same anymore.
It's not the same movie anymore.
No.
And I mean, this episode plays with a lot of TV and movie cliches. Where, help, I'm hurt, what do you want? Oh, come here, I want to talk to you,
that scene with Archer.
Yeah.
I got something I want to tell you. And then he goes and rambles for the next few seconds.
And it's like, okay, come on. First of all, these guys are not stupid.
Well, Shran could see something.
Shran, even his buddy, oh, well, yeah, but Shran from the get-go, he knows, okay, you're bluffing.
Yeah.
What's going on? Mm-hmm. What are you hiding?
Mm-hmm. Let me take this figure and slowly put it in this big mouth, and nobody will see me do it.
Yeah.
That was a bit awkward.
And at the end of like everyone would have seen him do that. But aside from that, what was the point of that? I understand that he tossed that through so that down below they could realize, oh, you could beam in down there and get right there and place a bomb. But you could have put a bomb there if that was just a wall. What difference does it make?
Well, they needed to know where that passageway was leading to the opening.
I know.
And they proved that it did.
It wasn't super interesting, unfortunately.
No, it wasn't. It did slow the pace down because, of course, it's going to lead there.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that. They had to make sure of that. I mean, I think they could have shortened the episode if they just, while they're in those caverns, if they just walked up to the light of the holes and just looked through them like, oh, hey, that's where we came through.
Yeah, honestly.
They wouldn't have to do that. So.
And, you referenced the first time that they do this where the sharing of the blanket between Archer and T'Pol.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think that was a wasted moment. That was probably halfway through the episode-ish. And at this point, although Archer does not know what's going on, I think he smells that something is a little off, He doesn't
Not
know.
enough.
Not enough. No.
I definitely wanted to feel that Archer especially was a little suspicious. Maybe a little, but it wasn't coming through very well.
No, but I think that scene, rather than waste time with sharing the blanket bullshit, I think that was a really good opportunity to do one of two things. Either spend that screen time with him talking to the other Vulcans who are being very Vulcan and it's pissing him off, or that's already happened where the Vulcans are pissing him off, and that could be what's giving him the sense that something's off. He's like, I've known Vulcans all my life. These guys are hiding something. I'm not saying they're spies, but there's something off. You know what I mean? And then when they have that scene at night where, fine, put her under the blanket, an excuse to get them close. I don't actually mind that as long as you make use of it photographically, put them in a tight space, and then have him essentially question her. Say, do you know something about this place? And her go, no. Okay, I realize not every Vulcan's going to know every little thing, but I like he kind of references it at some point in the episode. I couldn't say when. I think it's in the beginning, but where he says, I need to know where your loyalties are. And I think this is one of those moments where they really should have hit that in that scene for him to say, something's going on here beyond the obvious. And I need to know that if these monks or whatever turn out to be something they're not, who are you with? And have because they're only this is, what did I say? Episode 7, episode 8?
7.
Episode 7. They're still working on their trust here. This would not be crazy for him to say, hey, I really need a show of loyalty from you here, or something to that effect. You know what I mean? But it was a wasted...
I think that would be a bit much to him actually say something close to, where do your loyalties lie? I think T'Pol has made that clear. She's...
No, well, in general, she has. Mm-hmm. But, and I couldn't tell you exactly where in the episode he does say something like that. But it's not in that scene. And maybe not something saying, I don't trust you. Just him saying, look, I realize these are your people. It doesn't have to be antagonistic.
Well, I agree that it was a missed opportunity.
Yes,
but
that's all I'm saying. It was a missed opportunity.
Well, as far as her loyalty, I don't think that was necessary. But what I think would have been necessary is what you said, was that, yes, he could have asked her about the monastery.
Right.
It's like, what do you know about this place? Don't you agree that these Vulcans are acting strange?
And if they're acting strange, why do you think
why do you think they'd be doing that? These Andorians think they have something here. Could that possibly be true?
And Andorians may be paranoid, but they're not stupid. So why do they keep coming back?
Well, he wouldn't know that, but he would say, look, I don't know Andorians very well, but they don't seem dumb to me.
Yeah,
so
yeah. So why would they
clearly,
keep coming back?
They're suspicious. They must have a reason for it. So what the hell is going on here?
Right. But I still think it would have been an interesting thing, because even though T'Pol has certainly, joined the crew, so to speak, I don't think the question would be out of line for him to say, if it comes down to it, who, are you going to defend your fellow Vulcans?
I wouldn't want anyone to ask that question of T'Pol.
I don't mean in a fight. I mean like morally.
No, I don't think that would be right to ask. Not proper to ask. I think it would make. I think it would be an awkward moment.
Well,
and not at all needed, not at all necessary.
Maybe not. And like I said, I know he does say it at some point in the episode. I just can't remember where. But that has its payoff at the end, where Archer gives the communicator to T'Pol. He could have called Enterprise and told them, let the Andorians go, do this, do that, to show Shran good faith. But instead, he gives it to T'Pol. And T'Pol gives the order. Mm-hmm. And that's her saying, I back you. This is wrong.
Well, it was also two things. Shran didn't trust the Vulcans anyway.
You're right. It was
yes,
both.
yes.
So to have a Vulcan, yeah, absolutely. It was definitely both. But I think it was, I think there was a couple things going on there, which made it interesting. It was a quick moment, but I did like it. Do you have any standout moments? Anything in particular you really liked? I feel like we've just been kind of taking it apart a little bit, but I have one thing.
Nothing stands out as really awesome to me. What's yours?
Well, I wouldn't call it really awesome,
okay.
But I did like, it was quick, it was brief, but when they're looking around the monastery, when they first get there and they start, even T'Pol's like, something's wrong.
Yeah, the statue is
askew. What is displaced or something like that. And then Archer sees the reflection
of the
Andorian behind a wall.
Right.
And he does a quick hand gesture
to
Trip, who understands, oh, okay, now is that look down or help me tackle this guy?
Or there's somebody behind me?
Something. But he did a clear hand gesture that told Trip, and Trip looked, saw the guy, went over there, and they both knew they were going to ram this wall. Like, it was, I liked that because that's probably something from knowing each other, for a long time.
Yeah, I like that. That was nice.
It's not.
Are you thinking of TNG?
Yeah, it's not lost on me that it's similar to.
Yes. How dare you? Oh, no. Even with our primitive vocal communications, we can such and such.
We can imprison you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Allegiance.
Allegiance. Yes.
Yeah.
But I like that little bit. I like that moment. I like the bit at the end with T'Pol where she's the one that places the call. That Archer takes a moral stand and says, what they're doing is wrong. Take this information, tell your people this is wrong. And the episode ends very quickly.
Yeah, again.
Right, very quickly right after that. And there's, thank God, because we don't need a moment where Archer and T'Pol talk about it. That's for later. This is the end of the episode.
We've been waiting for these for later moments that haven't been happening, though.
They come. I mean, Shadows of Pajem is a whole episode having to deal with the repercussions of this episode.
Okay. Yeah, but like these moments in episodes in previous episodes where we would expect, at least I did, where there would be a moment between Archer and T'Pol, they never happened.
Right. Well, that's what I mean by missed opportunities. How many times did we say when watching Voyager that they had the Maquis and the Starfleet crews get along way, 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 way too quick? That's why I would like to have seen that brief conversation with Archer and T'Pol. Not that he's questioning, not that he thinks she's bad or would do anything bad. He just needs to hear it. He needs a little reassurance. And just because these are her people, it's not an unreasonable question. These are her people. And although he totally trusts her as a first officer, they've only been together for so many months. And these are her people for her life. It's not a crazy question. And I think it would have been nice to keep that spirit, not tension, because the tension has dissipated, but the questions of loyalties and all of that going a little longer, when, especially to cite Voyager as an example of how we do wish that had lasted longer. There was something else I was going to say that I liked. Oh, yeah. It was the not even subtle references they have right after they're captured. And Archer's like, hey, just play it cool. Malcolm's going to know. We're not going to report in such a time. Malcolm's going to figure it out. And he's like, he's going to beam down with like armed commandos and all that. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things. They're just saying, okay, Malcolm is like a gearhead. He's and he had that episode when they tried to board the ship, a couple episodes back where he wanted to blow the hull to get in. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh man, I wanted to blow something up. He's finally getting to do something.
Yeah, you reminded me of Malcolm in this episode, and that was something I wanted more of. I liked seeing Malcolm in command. Mm-hmm. I would have.
He's all business.
Yes, he is all business. Like, Scotty becomes all business.
That. Yeah.
Which is good. I wish there was more of that.
Yeah.
And I wish there was more of Jeffrey Combs.
Well, of course.
There wasn't enough.
No, there was not enough.
No.
He was criminally underused,
He
really.
was. They kind of spread out the lines to the other Andorians. But
that other guy was good, though.
He was fine.
His like first officer guy.
I didn't like the fact that he had to
come on to
Paul like that.
That was a little much.
I didn't think that was necessary.
I agree with you. But he should be revolted by her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see your point. But I did like at the end with Shran when he said, "We're in your debt," and that sets up kind of the kind of person Shran is. He has a code that he lives by.
He does,
and he sticks to it.
He is a man of honor.
Even when it's against what he really wants, he still does it.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of a theme that follows. Like, he owes Archer at the end of this one, but by the end of the next time they encounter each other, Archer owes him.
Right.
So when they meet again, it's, hey, you owe me one, pink skin. Remember that? And it's always like, I owe you now. It's this back. That becomes part of their dynamic.
Yeah.
And at first, it's real. Like, you owe me. But after a while, it's a shtick that they have. And it's nice.
Yeah, they just kind of like each other.
Yeah. And that's how they hide it.
Right.
And I like
Which
that.
is fun.
Like I said, because it's earned. It's an earned respect, and I really do like that.
So all in all, it was a fine episode to set up things to come.
Yeah.
But I think we both agree it did lose some of its effectiveness.
It did. Unfortunately.
Is there anything else you wanted to add about it?
No, I would say that pretty much.
Final grade? Is it really that difficult?
Well, I just have to remove myself from the fact that it's not the episode's fault that it's not
graded.
That you know the end.
I mean,
I'm going to give it a B.
I was about to say, you can use whatever criteria you want.
It's a good episode.
Okay.
The fact that The Sixth Sense is a really good movie.
Oh, sure.
Is it hurt by the fact that you can't rewatch it quite the same way? No. Who cares?
It doesn't affect you as much, but it's still good.
Right.
Yeah.
This is, I would say, a B because it does miss a lot of opportunities that could have made it an A episode.
I think this is the first time we've agreed. I think a B is fair.
A middle grade B.
Yeah, it's good. It's not stellar, but it was effective in what it was trying to do.
Right.
The slow parts I can only blame on that I knew what was coming. But it did a good job of setting up the Andorians, setting up how the Vulcans are lying their asses off about everything. They're not trustworthy at all.
These are not the Vulcans.
These are not the Vulcans that we know in the future.
Right.
No, these are totally different Vulcans. The Andorians are actually more trustworthy.
Yeah.
So, and I like that. And that's good. So I think a B is perfectly fair.
All right. Yeah, that is the first time we've synced up.
Yeah.
With a grade.
So I'm looking forward to the next one. You want to look up what the next one is?
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now.
Okay.
Breaking the Ice.
Okay, well I know that's a good one.
Yeah, I enjoy that one.
Mm-hmm. At least there's no sequels to Terra Nova coming up.
Shadows of Pajem is episode 15, just FYI. So we got...
Oh, that's soon. I thought it was going to be in the second season.
No. 7 more episodes-ish away. But yeah, Breaking the Ice.
All right, well, I'll see you in the next one.
All right.